Welcome back to your second Prezi on evolution, forces of evolution. I want to touch base on the effects of evolution because a lot of students get confused about how exactly evolution works. It's important to remember that evolution works at the population level. It's a population level phenomenon, if you will. A lot of people get confused because they think that individuals are capable of evolving. You and I are not capable of evolution over our lifetime. Now, it is important to note that evolution does emerge or come from the selection of individuals by the environment, meaning an organism with a particular set of traits or a particular trait might be more likely to survive and reproduce than another. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just by chance event that particular beetle was able to survive the landslide. But regardless, the evolution itself only can happen to populations after generations of time. Okay, so there are different modes of selection, and this is one of those that would be helpful for you to draw as a picture for sure. So here are a couple ways that uh, selection might affect a population. So we've got disruptive selection, and so this would be towards both extremes. And what I mean by that is maybe there are two distinct variations. So in this case, maybe this tan and this goldish colored clam might be selected for, but this variation would not be selected for. So this red line is the before selection um, uh, frequencies. And then we can see here now that after selection, in disruptive selection, only the two extreme colorations are actually selected for. And there are a very low frequency and number of the middle type. In stabilizing selection, again, let's look at the red line first. The red line is before the selection takes place. In stabilizing selection, it's going to not favor the two extremes. So maybe not a lizard with too short of a tail or too long of a tail, but a lizard in this case with like a quote unquote medium length tail. That's what we call stabilizing selection. Directional selection is another effect that selection might take on a population of organisms. And this is the case of maybe the ancestors of giraffes, for example. So there could be different variations, or there might have used to be different variations. But now what we see is directional selection toward one extreme, so toward one end. Now, I'm not sure why this first red line here is denoted, but in either case, directional selection would be on one extreme or the other. So important that you recognize that traits must be inherited. So at least to some degree, these traits must be inherited. So if you look at these two caterpillars, you may be like, oh my goodness, they are so different. But it turns out that these two different morphologies of the caterpillars are due entirely to chemicals in their diet and not genetic differences. So it's actually the same species of caterpillar. It just depends on whether they eat oak leaf or oak flower. Just the last reminder is that traits can either be physiological or behavioral. So it could involve something with their physical body, either externally or internally, or behavioral. In the case of praying mantis, mating behavior. And so male praying mantis actually end up dying after copulation. So that's after mating. But reproductive success is really all that matters in terms of fitness. Because if you think about it, if they are reproducing before they are before they are passing away, they are contributing their genes to the next generation. And so that's how we are determining fitness. As a reminder, if you've got questions, definitely bring them to class. And to wrap it up, at the end of this presentation, you should be able to do a couple of things. You should be able to compare all of the evolutionary forces described in this presentation, explain how they can affect a population, and give real-world examples of each. That latter part is going to be important to your understanding of the material. You should also be able to explain why evolution is not always adaptive. Those are things like genetic drift and gene growth. And finally, explain how evolution can affect the structure of a population over time. If you're able to do those things, you are going to be, you are on track for success in this unit so far.